It's a great time of year now that the golf calendar has been amended these last couple of years, where the PGA, which used to be the last major chronologically of each calendar year, is now wedged in between the Masters and the U.S. Open. So it's TPC 1 month, then the Masters, then the PGA, then the U.S. Open, then the Open Championship. So we're at Southern Hills this year, and here are all the course details. Here's what you're looking for. And here's what they've bet with Matt and Kelley. What you guys got here?
Yeah, Southern Hills in Tulsa. And, you can go back and historically look at some of the tournaments that have been played here in the past, but I didn't do that. I didn't weigh any of this stuff for multiple different reasons.
Me either.
I think that we're getting to a point now for me, outside of Augusta, which is played at the same course every single year, like whenever we're looking at the Masters stuff. But on these majors that rotate, I'm really not looking back too much, because they go in and they change these courses, and then just the game has typically changed by the time that these courses have been back in the rotation again, right? Like literally everybody is 300 plus yards off the tee now. Like, it is not even a thing, right? I mean, like old guys have figured out a way. You start to look at some of these guys and you're like, Stuart Sink is still 300 off the tee, whatever, and all this stuff. And you're just like, all these guys have figured out how to, increase their ball speed and get increase their launch angle, and the carry is so much longer and all that. So I didn't pull any historical stats at all from the course and just kind of went at this as if it were a new deal. So it's 7,556 yards. It's a par 70 in this, so that means only 2 par 5s. Top 70 and ties make the cut. So remember that, though, if you're making any yes-no cut bets or whatever, it's top 70 and ties, but kind of like we've talked about, not necessarily with the Masters, but to a different extent here. There's 156 players teeing it up, Gill, but they have a bunch of tour pros that qualify. There's a whole bunch of, if you've ever won, you can, there's some old guys in the field that can get in from past wins. There's also, they have a deal worked out with a bunch of the other tours from around the world. So it's a whole bunch of guys coming over and playing that, again, the competition isn't necessarily nearly close to what it is here. So even those 156 golfers, by my count, I kind of started whittling guys down. It seems more about kind of like 125 to me. So it's more like an invitational type tournament than it is actually an open. I don't know how you...
Yeah, I went with 130 in my head. So yeah 125, 130. Yeah, right around there.
So kind of like an invitational more than like one of these typical everybody's teeing it up for
But really important with what you're talking about of where that cut line is at, because that cut number is further back than what it is in some of these other tournaments.
And you got to think, you're like, oh, it's only 5 spots. It's typically 65. Yeah, but it's 5 spots and ties, right? And so that 5 spots and ties could actually equal like 8, 9, 10 guys. And
or more. Often we see a lot sometimes.
Yeah. So 8, 9, 10 extra guys making the cut here. And again, out of a field that we've already kind of narrowed down is really only probably 120, 130 deep. So we're probably talking, over half of the field here. I thought maybe I missed a goal or something.
No.
It's the course, hilly, uneven. I think there's a lot of Augusta National in this course if we're looking kind of for comp stuff. I mean, it looks like there's going to be guys that are going to be not a lot of the same shot twice for a lot of these guys, because it's just, the way that the fairways are tilted and the different ways that the elevation changes throughout the course of them walking the 18 holes. So for me, again, kind of looking at this stuff, I de-emphasized approach a little bit more than I typically do, because it's just, 1, the wind conditions, 2, there's going to be, guys hitting off of weird angles and weird slopes and different things and all that. So I still have it in the model, but definitely de-emphasized it. Some water's in play on either 14 or 15 holes. You get varying reports on this, but anyway, a lot of water, right? There's a creek that runs through the whole course. And so either on 14 or 15 holes, you're going to have water. And then 11 of the holes have 4 or more sand traps on them. So something just to keep in mind. I actually didn't put sand saves into my model this week.
Either.
I kind of regrettably wish that I maybe would have, but I'm hoping that my guys are just going to be able to keep it in the fairway and keep it where they need it to be. So that's kind of how I went all about this. Kelley, they removed some trees. There should be more wind because they removed some trees here. They've lengthened it. I don't think it's going to play 75, 56 every day. I think that in order to give these guys different looks where they have to carry it different ways and really try to make these guys, use every club in their bag and use all of their skill sets, it wouldn't surprise me if it plays 7,400 one day, 7,550 the next day, then coming back down to kind of moving these tee boxes up, moving these tee boxes back, creating different angles, all the stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the other interesting one with wind really being the main defense for this course and them removing the trees, the other swing of that is now, okay, if you've removed trees, you've heard from a lot of the guys out there playing practice rounds and stuff. Well, I'm not as in bad shape if I miss the fairway as I normally would be at a major, and especially with these trees removed, you're hearing a lot of that out there. So I think that's one where just when we talk off the tee stuff, where I factored in distance more than I factored in really accuracy.
Yeah, it shouldn't be incredibly penal if you miss the fairway, but
not too penal.
But if you miss it very badly, of course, we talked about there is a creek. I mean, you could hit water, you could, so it's not like that. But it's not like you can completely just spray it here and be okay. But you're not going to get all that. You're going to get all that punished if you miss some fairways here and there. We talked about there only being 2 par 5s. The big thing about that is they're monsters.
Yeah.
So you're talking over 600 yards on both of these par 5s. 632 is hole 13. Hole 5 is 656. So this is not going to be like eagle opportunities, right? Like these are true 3-shot, like you're going to be taking 3 shots the majority of the time into these. Now, there are going to be a few guys in the field who are just super long that are going to be able to get there in 2, but more times than not, it's going to be guys with true 3-shot par 5s. Basically, like if you're playing a par 5 at home. Like if any of us are playing par 5s, right? It's a 3-shot hole. It's not a 2-shot hole to get to the greens. And so that's why I didn't really factor in. Again, I didn't factor in par 5 scoring because I think these guys are going to be looking at this as like a big-time bonus if you have a good look at birdie on these par 5s, as opposed to, like this is a hole that I'm definitely going to go score on. So I didn't factor in par 5 scoring either this week. I don't know if you did.
I didn't either. From exactly what you said, there's only 2 of them. You're talking about very different distances. Anyways, I already know it's a long course. I'm looking for guys that are long off the tee. Anyways, so that was something I didn't incorporate in my model whatsoever.
And just to jump in, because I asked this of you yesterday, but for those who missed it, and you asked it of Sia earlier, you are not letting potential weather take you off the scent.
I'm not. And here's the thing is, because and if you guys didn't hear the last segments and stuff like this, like, listen, there are things that I've learned over the course of my betting career where just were obvious leaks for me. And it was one for me was just overvaluing weather. And it was in across the board in every single sport. It'd be like, you'd get like this thing like, oh, the wind's blowing out at Wrigley today. And like, you start to look and like, well, I've got to play this over and stuff. And it's like, yeah, the wind's blowing out, but it's like one direction. It's like that can mean so many different things.
Some people really go into the loft of the shot, right?
Yeah, like some of it's like you can really kind of overanalyze some of this stuff. And some of these guys too, man, are like really good at hitting these like stingers, these like low balls that don't even get up into the wind, especially on some of these second shots and stuff. The reason I bring that up is Tyrrell Hatton is sitting at the top of kind of that middle tier of the leader of the odds board there. He's one of those guys that's like really known for being able to hit those like low stingers with a ton of accuracy and stuff. And so these guys are so good now that I didn't. It was maybe a tiebreaker for me if I thought a guy was like, a little bit better with his irons in the wind or something like that. Really, for me, it was just the short game stuff, because I don't think the wind necessarily is even going to be as big of a factor as keeping it on these greens as just the greens themselves. Because one, they're small to begin with, and 2, they, like Augusta, they have a bunch of these runoffs and they have a bunch of these tiers and things. If you hit the wrong tier, it's going to run off. Sometimes you're going to hit the right tier and it's still going to run off. And so that was the thing for me.
Yeah, no, I want to get back to the greens after this, because I think the weather conversation is good and the greens are really a super important part of this conversation for the breakdown. But as far as the weather goes, Gil, I will look at, like, I haven't made any first round leader bets yet because I do think that win factor could play in tomorrow, and I will base some of my bets off of that.
That's where I was going to go with that. Is like if you're looking at that, it would just I think it's strictly look at Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And if you want to play first round leader bets, at least it looks right now we're not weathermen, none of us are, but like we're getting the reports from people that is by far going to be the easiest of the go of the whole.
And what wind can affect things, but wind without rain. I don't like messing around with weather when we start talking rain because it becomes too hard to predict. Because if rain ends up delaying delaying play, then you get guys that are coming out there that you thought were going to be dealing with bad conditions, coming back on the course with softer conditions, course conditions to play on that actually end up doing better than your guys that you were trying to get in front of. So rain, I think, is a whole different story. But wind tomorrow for first round leader bets, I do think is slightly important.
Yeah, rain 40% chance expected on Saturday, for what that's worth. The actual bets that we've made on the other side. You guys have one more thing to say about this course you want to say? Your model?
I just want to talk about the greens and the around the green stuff. So we've got, super undulated greens, right, Matt? We're talking about this around the green. I feel like I've heard from a lot of the people that I respect, that I listen to and read and stuff. There seems like a possible paralysis by overanalysis situation going on here. And I wanted to get your thoughts because I think we're on a little bit different wavelengths here with this, where we don't really know how around the green's going to look, right? And we know it's going to be tough. We know we're going to see a lot of balls run off the green to there. But I've heard some people saying, well, it's going to be the most important stat of the week. You need to weigh it heavily. And then a lot of people saying it's going to be so tough that it's going to kind of neutralize, really the skill sets of the really good players and the really bad players. It's so tough. The bad guys are going to be not nearly as bad as, worse than the good players normally are on regular around the green play. So I don't know how you built that in. I think you did end up factoring a lot of around the green in, right?
I did for sure. Yeah, a ton. I listened to Trevor Immelman. He's out there on site, and he said he went out there and kind of looked at the course, and he said he expects a lot of good shots to go unrewarded out there with the way that things are sitting right now. Now, again, they can change all this stuff by pin placement. They can change, if day one ends up being impossible for these guys or something, or vice versa. If it's too easy on day one, then they can obviously change that on day two or something. But he said by and large that it was one of those deals where it looks like there can be some really good shots that go unrewarded, and then any stray shots are definitely going to go unrewarded.
So the way I approached it with guys, and I built it into my model. I guess I didn't go super heavy on it, but what I really ended up doing, Matt, was the guys I played were either really good around the green, right, or really bad at it. And I was like, okay, there might be a few I'm playing that are bad at it, and I'm hoping it's so tough for everybody that they don't lose that many strokes around the green to the rest of the field. So that's kind of how I attacked it.
Yeah, I mean, this does change. Your handicap does change where if this plays in the single digits as opposed to playing in the double digits as far as like the winning score, it does change kind of the calculus of how you look at this whole thing, right? I mean, we look at, something like, for example, let's take Will Zalatoris, for example, right? A guy that I have a top 20 on, I don't have an outright on or whatever, because again, I think there's a chance this plays kind of in the 10, 11, 12 range as opposed to the 6, 7, 8. But if it plays in the 10, 11, 12 type range, you're going to have to make some putts. Like, you're going to have to make some birdies. You're going to have to do that if you're going to win this tournament. If it plays in the 6, 7 range, Will Zalatoris, who is a notoriously terrible putter, well, that neutralizes how bad him being a bad putter, right? Because if other guys are not making birdies, then he doesn't have to catch up as much from that. And so I think he's much more live in all of this. And so it can be two different tournaments here, because there is a big difference in the winner being at 6 or 7 under and the winner being at 11, 12, 13 under.
Yeah.
That's a very big difference in what it takes to get this done. And so, look, I kind of hedged my bet here on Zalatoris. I really do like him this week, but I just, I played him in the top 20 market instead. So, look, I'll start here with kind of the price bombs that I talked about earlier on in the week. We get a couple of benefits here. of betting in Las Vegas that you guys don't get. You guys get by far the best of it. But one of the things we do get is we get some off-market numbers, and specifically on the longer shot guys, like where you might be looking at a number on DraftKings that a guy's like 100 to 1 or 120 to 1. Well, at Circa, the guy might be 300 to 1. Like he might be 275 to 1. Like quite literally double the price on some of these longer guys. And that's kind of what happened here with these guys. And now, do I expect Aaron Wise, Robert McIntyre, Adam Hadwin, Chris Kirk, or Stuart Sink to win this? I do not. However, I will tell you, I will be dancing in the streets if they do, because every single one of those guys I have at 300 or longer, right? Or 250 or longer. Wise was 250, and then all the rest of them are longer than that. McIntyre's at 300, Hadwin's at 300, Kirk's at 375, Sink is at 500 to 1, and all of those are double what you were getting like rest of market. So those are just kind of number plays for me. Top 40 plays: Mito Pereira, Max Homa, and Taylor Gooch. These are three guys that I like the trajectory of Mito and Max's game. And Taylor Gooch, it's more just a skill set fit here for me. If you kind of look, it's a mixed bag of results for Taylor Gooch here recently. He's done well in majors, and he's done really poorly in some of the tournaments that you think he would excel at. Pereira's game is on the upswing. Max Homa, if you just kind of look, everything about Max Homa is screaming kind of, hey, look, in 18 months, he might be a guy that we're kind of looking at on a weekly basis saying, oh, he's only 18 to 1 this week, or 22 to 1 this week, or something like that.
I ended up betting him pretty heavily this week.
Yeah. I mean, his game is certainly on the upswing, so I like him in a top 40 market. Top 20 market, like I said, Zalatoris. I kind of cheated here because I wanted to bet him outright. I just couldn't get there.
I couldn't get there either. I thought I was going.
But I took the top 20 market on him. Justin Thomas, who, again, if I'm not going to completely just ignore my numbers, he was in the top 5 in every single version of every single model that I ran. He's in pretty good form. The problem is he just has not been putting very well. I will say this. If I see on Thursday the flat stick is working for Justin Thomas, I will come in live and I will bet him live. I think he will, if he is putting well, he's going to win this tournament. He can win this tournament. He's been so bad putting that it's tough for me to take him to actually win outright. I still think that gets him in the top 20. And then Cam Smith, kind of the forgotten guy this week, a guy that just goes out there and every single major is in contention. I don't think this, because again, he is pretty bad off of the tee. And while we said it's not going to be so bad if you're off the, like, he might end up in the water one of these days off the tee. When he misses, he can miss like extraordinarily bad. And I think maybe one kind of blow up hole, specifically if we are playing in that 6, 7, 8 under range as the winner, could keep him from actually winning this thing outright. But I'll take him in a top 20 market. My outright start with a longer shot in Jason Kokrak at 120 to 1, Tommy Fleetwood 110 to 1. Cam Young, you got a way better number than me. I only got 80 to 1 on him. Matt Fitzpatrick at 55 to 1, Shane Lowry at 38 to 1, Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy. And here's the thing. I have all these other guys. I have those bombs. I think one of Rory or Jordan wins this thing. I really do. They're short shots. Like we said, those bets aren't for everybody. I fortunately have the bankroll to be able to play guys like Rory and Jordan and still make some money on that. I get it if you don't want to go that route. Tons of head-to-heads. Kelley, go to your stuff, and we can swing back around.
No, go ahead and finish up, because we got to get a Gill and me anyways.
Take your time.
Take your time, buddy. Come on.
Robert McIntyre, I love everything about Robert McIntyre's game. Everything that I was looking for in this. McIntyre over Peters, over List. I have Alex Noren over Russell Henley. I don't have to tell you why I have Alex Noren over Russell Henley, because he's Russell Henley. But I really do like Alex Noren's fit for this tournament. Really was popping in the model a ton. Ricky Fowler's form is actually fairly good here recently, and I was getting big plus money him against Luke List. We know Luke List, the cut equity on Luke List, like he could get cut very, very easily in this tournament. And
I played the opposite here, actually.
What's that?
I played the opposite, actually. I played the opposite exact matchup. Yeah.
I was getting good plus money on Fowler. Wise over Siwoo Kim, Lowry over Xander Schauffele, Spieth over Cantlay. It's just because I'm so high on Spieth. Nothing against Cantlay. Cam Smith over Victor Hovland, Xander Schauffele over Victor Hovland, Dustin Johnson over Victor Hovland. It is a Victor Hovland fade for me this week, and then a complete Rahm fade as well. JT, Rory, Scotty Scheffler, and Patrick Cantlay all over Jon Rahm in head-to-heads.
Yeah. Gil, you want to go through yours
Yeah,
here?
mine are quick.
All my matchups, I only made 3 matchup plays so far. All my matchup plays are on your list. It's just only one of them switched. Otherwise, I got 2 against Rom.
Scotty Scheffler outright. Scotty Scheffler top 5. Scotty Scheffler top 10. That is the extent of my PGA bets at this moment.
Gill Alexander special.
I do believe that he's different. I believe unlike all the other elite golfers who on their A game are tremendous, they just don't show up all the time. Scotty Scheffler shows up all the time, and this is his favorite golf course. So price was not really an object for me. I just want to be all about him.
I think it's what Rick Gaiman said yesterday, too. Like, if you're guys like that, like me and Matt and him that are doing this so much week in and week out, maybe we don't look at that stuff. But for guys that are betting it every other week like you, or, once every month or once every couple months, fine. You like the guy, go put the bets. He's great.
And win. Yeah, I mean, he's a winner.
Kelley Bydlon's bets next. Kelley hadn't gotten around to giving his PGA picks, and he's got a bevy of them.
Yeah, I'll try to move through these fairly quickly so we get to prop watch.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's a major, man. It's a major.
I talk and buy shoes.
I did end up on Rory with you, Matt. I did digging into him and just recent form. I think this course sets up well for him. A guy you're talking, basically everything you're looking for here, right? Long off the tee, a pretty good around the green game. I got myself pretty sold on Rory for this tournament. Yes, Jordan Spieth did end up number 1 in my last 12-round model. So, I figured I needed to make a choice between Rory and Spieth. Might shock you guys, but I ended up going with Rory over Spieth. But I might be looking for Spieth live. JT I had bet already over the weekend, but he is top 5 in all my modeling. Really, Matt, at this point, you just got to start talking about JT's win equity is simply a thing. I mean, he's top 10 JT these days, but it's been over a year since he's won. So that is something that's kind of weighing in the back of my mind. Now, this is where I wish one day the great Kengineer, Ken Sportage here is going to give me a telestrator so I can start circling and crossing off things. I'm going to go over my whole board here, but things that I would no longer bet if I were you out there. Hideki Matsuyama crossed it off the list, especially at the odds that you're getting him at right now. We don't know what's going on with the neck. I bet him early over this past weekend at 50-1. I didn't end up adding anything to him. Yes, he was hovering around where I liked in my model, Matt, but I'm glad I didn't bet anything because today we're getting these neck reports, and that's enough for me to say I wouldn't bet that one any longer. Max Homa, I do end up liking him a fair amount here. Not the best around the green player, but what he's done recently, you're talking about winning his last event at the Wells Fargo, 48th at the Masters, but then he had 4 straight top 20 finishes in February and March, playing really good golf. I mean, has won 3 times in the past year on tour. I think really impressive stuff from Homa there. So I am on him in the outrights. Woodland and Fleetwood are bets that I made early on as well. You can get a much better number on Woodland right now. He still was up there in some of my modeling. Fleetwood, I'm not necessarily sure I would still be betting if I didn't make that bet a couple weeks ago. Cameron Young, Aaron Wise, I love the numbers I got on those. They are small bets, but big numbers on them. So I like that. And what I did with both of those guys then, if I go to top 10s and top 40s, what I've liked to do with some of these long shots that I've really been betting is I'll put a small bet in on a top 10, play them heavier in the top 40 market then. So I have both those guys, both top 10 and top 40. The other top 40 play I made was on Keegan Bradley. And then a bunch of top 20s. Rory, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, I all played fairly heavily. And then at slightly longer prices, Neiman plus 225 and Max Homa at plus 320. I also played, and then the 3 matchups that I've gotten to at least so far. All 3 you played, Matt, just one flip-flopped here. I did play Scheffler over Rahm. I played JT over Rahm. And I played Luke List over Ricky Fowler.
Oh, that's fun. I like that. I like us being head-to-head on a head-to-head.
Yeah, we're head-to-head on a head-to-head.
That's
Yep.
fun. That's fun.
You guys should fight.
Yeah. We'll just, we'll fight it out.
We saw when we walked in here, screen lingers from the previous show.
Yeah.
And so Matt Humans had a few of his bets. Did I see that he had Tiger over Ricky in a head-to-head? Did I see that correctly?
I believe he did.
I think he had Tiger over Ricky in a that was the only Tiger Woods sighting I saw. You have nothing Tiger-related. Nothing.
No. Look, do I think he could make the cut? Sure. But it's just the biggest thing for me is I went back and looked. His his length, and he says he feels better and all this stuff's like, but like he was not very long off the tee at Augusta, and he just knows that course so well. He knew exactly where to put it. And he's able to navigate and do all of that. Like, and so the length didn't really matter. It didn't really bother him. But like, it's going to be a different story here at this course. He doesn't know it near as well. Like the length is going to matter. They've made this to where like almost you need to be a little bit over tour hours to be able to carry some of these things, some of the bunkers, some of the different things that are out there. Like it could end up being a tough go of it for Tiger out there. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise, because we're talking 70 in ties, and like we said, there's some guys that we already have wiped out. So it wouldn't surprise me if he made the cut. It would very much surprise me if he's even sniffing, any sort of contention.
No, I'm with you. A couple people have asked me about this. I think we had a really good read on how to play him during the Masters. Mm-hmm. This tournament, I have no idea. I think there's a good chance he makes the cut, but it's not something I'm willing to bet on. And anything more than that, Matt, I'm not confident in it. But I think it's worth us taking notice when Tiger's saying he's feeling a lot stronger and a lot better. Where you don't see us fading him in any matchup.
And look, we'll get instant feedback because we'll get ball speed, we'll get like carry length and stuff off his first few drives and things, and see, like is there a difference from what we were seeing, a few weeks ago and all that. So I mean, like we'll at least have the data. One last thing I do want to say here is, if everyone's wondering why I was such a big fade of Rahm and Hovland in this tournament, again, like I heavily weighted around the green and scrambling for this. I'm going off of just the reports that we get, and some of the guys that have been there already and have kind of given some reports from what they've seen so far. And I don't think these greens are going to hold. And again, there could be rain, and if rain does come, then hey, look, they soften these things up, and then maybe it does. But by and large, I think there's going to be a lot of runoff. I think there's going to be a lot of around the green play. They're small as it is anyway. If there is wind, it certainly could affect a lot of these, approach shots and stuff. Jon Rahm, for as awesome as he is at every single thing else in the game of golf, for whatever reason around the green, he has been very, very poor. 70th in this field over the last 50 rounds, 91st in this field over the last 36 rounds, 131st in this field over the last 24 rounds. It's been pretty bad. And Victor Hovland's even worse. As we mentioned, there's only 156 golfers in this field. And, over the last 50 rounds, he's 148th. That means he is basically dead last in this field, because there's probably not even data on some of the guys that are in this field. So he's basically dead last, 149th over the last 36 rounds, 148th over the last 24 rounds. And if we just go over the last calendar year, last 12 months, 136th in this field. So, I think that it's just, over the course of 4 rounds, these guys are just going to, the weakness that they have in that around the green game is going to just come to bite them. And so that's why I'm on the fade of those guys.
All right.